If you're looking to get into sports videography and you have a tight budget and you don't want to break the bank for camera gear and accessories, this video is for you. If you're just starting in sports videography, I don't recommend you spending tens of thousands of dollars on camera equipment because one, you might get into the field, you might, start working for a couple months, half a year, even a year, and realize, this industry or section of videography is not for you. So why spend all that money? And a second reason is that, man, these cameras under $2,000 these days, they're just amazing. They can get the job done. Most of sports videography content gets posted to like Instagram and TikTok where they compress files anyways. So to get like a, FX6 just for a videography, for an example, is kind of unnecessary. I want to be as minimal as possible and use the resources that I have. And to be honest, less gear actually makes you more present in the moment. Less things to focus on. It's just you, your camera, and the game. And I just think at the end of the day, the game is what matters, and storytelling matters when it comes to sports videography. And yeah, I'm a big fan of a minimal setup. My bad for cutting in the middle of this video. I just want to let you know one thing real quick. I have a free school community for sports videographers where we share our work, talk about camera stuff, and from time to time, I list paid gigs on there. So let's get into some essentials for camera gear on a budget. For outdoor sports with good lighting, a crop sensor is just fine. I'm not going to get into the specs of everything. There's millions of videos where people explain specs way better than me. But one camera that I've noticed shoots really high quality work is a Sony VE10 Mark II. I've done some minimal research on this camera, and the picture quality, the video quality to this camera is amazing. This camera is only $1,500 Canadian, and if I was just beginning my videography career, I would definitely get this camera right now, just because it's on the cheaper side and it produces a really, really good picture. Another camera that I would entertain for outdoor sports like football, soccer, is the one that I'm using right now, is the FX30. Yes, it's another crop sensor, but man, this camera has, one, it's made me a lot of money, and two, it's my go-to camera for all sports right now, indoor and outdoor. But there is a little bit of a compromise. I'll tell you about that later. But this camera is amazing. I know I said I wasn't going to get into specs, but it does have a 6K sensor. And the picture is super sharp. It's a beginner cinema camera on the Sony line, and it is just fantastic. The picture is crisp. I wouldn't trade this camera for anything. Like, no matter what, even if I move on, I'm going to keep this baby with me because it does wonders. This camera is about $2,500 Canadian right now. And don't worry, I'm going to link all the camera gear that I'm talking about below. I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video, but I only talk about Sony cameras only because that's what I'm using and that's what I do my research on. And I just feel like Sony has come a long way, and that's what I'm going to stick to for now. So now here's the thing. If you're shooting indoor or low light sports, I do have the FX30, and for most times it does well for me. But I've noticed when I'm in either a high school gym or a college gym, when it's a little bit of a dim setting, I can see the FX30 starting to compromise in low light situations. And when I'm in an official arena, like last year I was in Houston and I was at the Rockets arena, I didn't notice it at all. But when I go to like the YMCA, or I'm going to the colleges that I'm shooting at, or some of these camps that have a low, like I said, a low light setting, I'm starting to see the compromise in the FX30. And although I could still get away with it, don't get me wrong, the footage is still usable, but it's having me think about upgrading to the FX3 for these type of situations, because the FX3 is a full frame camera, which means ultimately it's better in low light situations. However, it's about $5,000. And for me right now, because I do make a living off of this, the upgrade would make sense, and I know I can make my money back. But yeah, for the low light sports, again, if you're on a budget, an FX30 can get you by. 100% it can get you by. If you if you're used to the FX30 and you want to like improve your work, I would definitely say, consider buying a FX3, but only when you start making money off this. Because like I said, I don't want you to break the bank for camera gear when you're not making money yet. Now for the most important gear, in my opinion, I think lenses are the most important because one, they can last a lifetime if you take care of them properly. And two, they make such a difference on the quality of your picture. For outdoor sports, you definitely want a 70 to 200. I have the Sony G Master 70 to 200, and it works amazing. Like that's my favorite lens. However, it's great when I'm in a big arena. When I was shooting last year in the Rockets Arena, the Toyota Center, it was amazing. I can be way, way up in the stands and still get a great picture. However, if you are shooting more high school, colleges, or camps or what have you, and it's just a more mid-sized type of location, that may be a little bit too close. That's what I've noticed. Like, I cannot use that lens when I'm out of high school. It zooms in way too close. I need like a mid-range zoom lens, like a 28 to 75 or a 35 to 150. When I'm shooting in these type of situations, the mid-range lens that I'm probably going to buy in the next week is the Tamron 35 to 150. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say this is cheap, but there are more expensive lenses out there. And this lens is about $2,000. Again, I'll link it all in the description. But for a crop sensor lens like the one I'm using, the FX30, I think this lens is very suitable for my needs right now. I was shooting yesterday at a basketball camp and I was using my homegirl's 28 to 70, and that lens was great for the setting that I was in. I was in, not a huge gym where I could be super far, and that lens definitely did the job. And then when I went home to go look how much that lens was, it was under $1,000 Canadian dollars, and I was like, that actually made me think, I'm not gonna lie. Because under $1,000, Canadian dollars, and it was producing a picture that good. Shoot, I might actually consider that one as well, but it's definitely on the cheaper side when it comes to lenses. I just want to mention something important, that if you are looking for lenses, have a look on Facebook Market. I bought lenses on Facebook Market before, and I still have them to this date, and that's about 9 years old. Just wanted to let you know that. Enjoy the rest of the episode. So I would highly recommend that if you're, again, on a tight budget, because it will do the job, especially when it comes to indoor sports like basketball. And one of my future videos are going to be camera settings when I shoot sports. I'm just not going to get into that now because I just want you to get the right gear that's suitable for you to get started. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is audio. And to me, audio is very, very important. The audio that I use for sports is this mic that I'm holding here. It's the Rode NTG, and I'll link it below. This microphone for the pricing is amazing. It's clear audio. It's like my run and gun docu style type of microphone. I believe it's under $300 Canadian, and this is the microphone that I'm going to use for a couple years. Audio is so important because natural sounds elevate sports. The next one is what you don't need, and this is just my humble opinion. Some people might fight me on this, but I don't think to start you need an external monitor. It is great to have, but it isn't essential to me. And to be honest, I barely use it. When I'm shooting in a professional setting like one of these big arenas, I do not use it at all because I want to be as discreet as possible. I only use it when I think I can attract more clients, because ultimately clients and our people around are attracted to this camera setup that I might have, and it looks more professional or what have you. But I don't really need it, and if I had a choice to probably never use it, I wouldn't, because I don't need it. So when you're just starting, I would skip the external monitor, save some money, and put it to something else. Memory cards are very important, and I didn't realize how important they were, but I have a CFast Express Type A memory card for my FX30. It was more on the pricier side. It was about $100 and something. However, this SD card is built to last, and I have no complaints. I don't ever have to worry about it breaking so easily. When I used to use those SanDiscs or just those flimsy ones, they break over time, and sometimes I'd have footage on them that I haven't necessarily cleared off, and that's always tragic. If you can, just invest in a sturdy, memory card because it'll go a long way. And when you're shooting sports, you're constantly on the go. You want something that's reliable. And the last thing is batteries. I've invested in a V-mount battery, and that thing, I haven't seen it die on me yet. Honestly, I've been shooting whole games with my camera on the whole game. Not even, I won't even turn off my camera, and that thing will be at like 50%. I know back in the day I used to have like 5 or 6 batteries, but that gets annoying when you have to always switch them out, and it gets pricey when you have to add up the battery costs all the time. So I just invested in this V-mount thing, invested in a small rig, so I can just connect the V-mount to the small rig, and it's worked wonders for me. I don't ever have to worry about battery life at all. And another thing I just mentioned is the small rig camera case. You want to protect your camera, especially in sports when you're all over the place. You might have to put your camera down. So definitely invest in a small rig that will help protect your camera. And also you can add other attachments on it, like a microphone. If you do want to use an external monitor, you can attach those things as well. I think a cage is very important, and I would highly recommend a V-mount battery, because for most games that you shoot, you won't ever have to worry about your camera dying because it's lost its battery prior. At the end of the day, you want to build a kit that helps you focus on filming, not distracts you. Yes, there are a million cameras that can do maybe better things than even mine, the FX30, but I take pride in telling stories when I shoot sports, and that's why camera gear will never be on my one or two things of my priority list to pay attention to, because ultimately I want to make sure that my content pieces are hitting the heart. And it doesn't matter what gear I have. If I can't hit the heart and pull emotional, strings, then camera gear really doesn't matter. The formula to camera gear when shooting sports videography is reliability plus simplicity plus presence. That's it. If you have any more questions, keep on, commenting them. I will make videos on them, or I'll answer you in the comment. I'll never be too big not to answer. And if you're looking to get into sports videography full time and you want to make this a career, then I suggest you watching this video here.